Hello and welcome to the Complete Lakers podcast. I'm Anthony Wilson, recording from Los Angeles, California. The Lakers have now won three straight games, uh, blowout wins over the Warriors and the Kings, and then last night a quote unquote clutch time victory against New Orleans. I say quote unquote because the Lakers, like I said before, the Lakers crunch time, so-called crunch time record is fugazi. They're like struggling against teams like New Orleans, pulling it out, and then people say they have a good crunch time record. Teams that, uh, you know, OKC or San Antonio would be by 30. The Lakers have to come down to the wire to beat them. So that's a Golden State team that's decimated by injuries, a Sacramento team that's tanking, and a New Orleans team that's tanking. But that's after losing to the Celtics, the Magic, and the Suns. Three playoff teams, but three teams that you would think the Lakers would um, be able to handle on paper, especially a Suns team that was, you know, so shorthanded without Booker and Brooks, and so it's almost as an achievement for the Lakers to win three games in a row, no matter who they're playing against, I guess. But the real fun starts now because they get the Nuggets on Thursday, the Knicks on Sunday, the Wolves on Tuesday, uh, and that's just kind of more immediate. You get the Nuggets again on the 14th, the Rockets on the 16th, and the 18th, the Pistons on the 23rd, the Cavs on the 31st. Hit the Heat on the 19th, and the Magic on the 21st, and then, in between there you got the Pacers twice, the Bulls, the Wizards, and the Knicks. I talked about the schedule last time, but I wanted to focus on Denver because that's the game that's coming up. Denver is a team that at 38 and 24, I believe. Um, I didn't realize just how many. I knew Jokic had missed 16 games. I talked about that. He came back the second he was eligible to come back, probably so he would still be eligible for MVP, or maybe that's just how much he loves being on the court. And they kind of threw out their chemistry because they were playing well without him. But Aaron Gordon has missed 39 games this year. Christian Brown missed 36 games. Cam Johnson missed 25 games. I think that's part of the reason that some of those guys, Peyton Watson and Julian Strother, guys like that, we've seen them kind of blossom in expanded roles because of all the injuries that the Nuggets have had. Jonas Valanciunas, I think, has missed some games too. Um, so you still haven't really seen DeAndre Jordan's been out there, but we still haven't seen this Nuggets team really healthy. I was saying before that I felt like if healthy, they had the best team and they would win the title. Um, but then Joker gets hurt. They play well without him. That was what made me actually feel that way. And then, I think I felt that way even before, looking at the depth of their team. But then even more so when Joker was out. But then when he came back, he threw off their chemistry. But I didn't realize that they were still so, they're Aaron Gordon's a big part of it. He's like the heart and soul of their team. So of course in the recent past, the Nuggets have been a thorn in the Lakers' side. We beat them in 2020, lost to them in 23 and 24, only won one game in between the two playoff series. They swept us in 2023, beat us in five the next year. But then we got Luka, and when we played them in Denver last year, when Luka was still kind of fresh with a freshly new Laker, we handled them. So it kind of just, it's just like I said, bro, Luka being here completely changed the very makeup and fabric of the Lakers. So however things were before, and like I said, I think the Lakers were. No, they were. I feel like they were a better team last year after the trade than they are this year. But I do also I feel like they're better with Luka than they were with AD. As much as we complain about this, the Luka team, it does have a higher ceiling because they have, Luka is one of those 1A offensive, players like like Shea, like Ant Edwards, like Kate Cunningham, I remember when the trade first happened, and someone observed or commented that JJ seemed almost giddy, knowing that he had now one of these type of offensive players like Luka. But we've seen the downside. Some they had that little dust up in first it was in Golden State or Sacramento. It was in Golden State because the Sacramento game was at home. Was at the crib. Uh, like little dust up in Golden State they had on the sideline, which JJ recently, I think last night he said that's very normal for that to happen. Um, I wouldn't say it's normal. I don't see it that often. A coach had they were obviously having a disagreement as Luka was walking to the bench, and then Vanderbilt had to get up and kind of get in Luka's way to stop him from going and have more words with JJ. Um, but yeah, I'm sorry. I guess I take it back. Like I've seen, I remember back in the day, Kobe and Phil snapping at each other and stuff like that. Um, but yeah, that's what happens when you have a player like a Luka Doncic, who once again these players who it's like I don't think Michael Jordan would argue with Phil Jackson, but because Michael Jordan went to Dean Smith and he learned respect. He went to North Carolina, played for Dean Smith and learned respect. Um, yeah, this. I mean, going back to when the high school kids coming in started coming in, it's a different type of player. Uh, so really, like I said, bro, that don't really mesh him and JJ because JJ's intensity as a coach is in stark contrast to the way that Luka is sort of just like laid back, laughing, having out there constantly talking trash, constantly, you know, complaining to the refs, you know. Um, JJ just is a very serious type of coach, and then the way JJ coaches, JJ expected to come here and bring kind of modernize the Lakers, only for Luka to come in the trade and basically Luka plays Luka ball, you know. So, um, like I said, he it's 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 the same as Shea and Ant and Cade and Brunson and Maxie and guys like that in the sense that yeah, they have the ball all the time, but like I always say, the way that Luka plays, right? Cade's style is downhill, you know. Shea's style is it's downhill. Ant's style is, he attacks the basket, and his style is just more like a little jitterbug type of style, you know. But that's the energy, you know. Luka's style is come down, lull you to sleep, and get 35 on you, you know. But like I always say, that rubs off on the team in a negative way. Plus, he doesn't play a lick of defense. So, um, it's just about, now, when you think about it, um, they did start 14-4 without LeBron. As I said last time, maybe just addition by subtraction. If LeBron is going after the season, that will fix these problems. But you have to ask yourself, the team that just take LeBron with this team, and then it's like it was to start the year. It's Luka, it's Austin, it's Laravia, it's Ruri, it's Aiden, it's Marcus Smart. Now it's Luke Kennard. It's Vanderbilt who's in and out of the rotation. It's like the last two games, I think. Um, it's like I said, they started 14-4. But is that a team that realistically in the playoffs we could see beating, OKC or San Antonio? It's like maybe San Antonio, but not OKC, right? I mean, I don't know. Like the thing about San Antonio is they're still so young. Like, there's any way they'll beat OKC. Uh, but San Antonio, because I don't know. Is it if the Lakers would be at a talent deficit in such a series against either one of those teams, and I don't think the Spurs probably have more talent. Spurs Think about it. The Spurs have so much talent that they didn't even have any use for Jeremy Sohan. They just let him go. Jeremy Sohan can play. You know, I mean, you saw the Spurs have Wimby, they have De'Aaron Fox, they have Vassell, they have Castle, they have Dylan Harper, they have Keldon Johnson. I mean, it's a hell of a team. You know, and they're only going to get better. You know, OKC they have Shea, they have J Dub, they have Chet, Hardenstein, Lou Dort, uh, Caruso, Cason Wallace, Wiggins. Um, but I think I kind of like San Antonio's guys more. You know, I think San Antonio's ceiling might be a little higher even than OKC's. You know, and of course Wemby is a big part of that. Gal was saying recently on the show, uh, like Wemby is just. I was listening to what Monty talk about him, and he was saying that they asked Harrison Barnes, but it was like playing pickup with Wemby during the summer. So it was like playing against Wilt Chamberlain. You know, like that's what we're talking about here. Um, but yeah, Luca, like I said, uh, he's an interesting player because he's the type of player that you have to build a specific type of team around. You know, and so like a thought experiment, like say, okay, so a couple of years ago, he made the finals with Kyrie and Derek Jones and P.J. Washington and Daniel Gafford and uh, Derek Lively. Um, and they made the finals. They beat, I think it was the Timberwolves they beat in the conference finals, and I think they beat OKC in the second round. But would that team today beat this OKC team now? I mean, that's it's a bit more questionable. That OKC team, they weren't quite, Dallas got them at the right time. With that Dallas team beat this Spurs team, maybe if that Spurs team is a year away from being mature enough to take that final step, like which is what OKC was the year that Dallas beat them in the conference semifinals. Um, so it's just like the ante is always being upped, and what worked 2 years ago, it probably wouldn't work today. Um, so yeah, with a team with Luca and Austin, okay, and then Aiton and Arabia and all those guys I named. I mean, would they beat OKC or San Antonio? I mean, like I said, they beat a talent deficit. Uh, so, and yeah, I think Luke and JJ, it's a situation where the coach and the player are not kindred spirits. You know, you think of Magic and Riley. Magic was a reflection of Riley on the court. Think of Duncan and Popovich. Duncan was an extension of Riley on the court. You think of Bill Russell. Bill Russell was an extension of Red Auerbach on the court. There was no discord between them in the way that there is between. I mean, you know, it's like imagine Pat Riley coaching Luca. Pat Riley be like, what the hell? I think when Magic Johnson was said he and Pat were, you know, people who don't know. I mean, see Magic. Look at the highlights. Magic Smile. Magic was Magic. He was same thing as Michael Jordan. You know, um, those guys were tough, man. Their leadership style was, you know, they weren't soft. You know, so yeah, we just have to see what ends up happening. But this will be interesting though. This stretch, it could go bad. But I want to say that this will tell us a little bit more about what this Lakers team is really. Like I said, I feel like in maybe we haven't seen the best of them because, as LeBron said, they're a low energy team that can't sustain energy for 48 minutes. Now, if we get to the playoffs, uh, will they be more inclined to try to lock in and sustain that energy for 48 minutes? You would think so. Um, and maybe this stretch here against all these teams with title aspirations, we'll see the Lakers try to put their foot to the on the gas and you know show a little bit more of what they can be. And then if they don't do well, it could be a sign that this really is just a team that's probably like a first round and out team. You know. And I want to say something about this Jason Tatum situation going on in Boston, where Bill Simmons said that it seems like Tatum could debut this season on Friday for the Celtics. Obviously, the Celtics are playing great without him. They're 40 and 20 through 60 games. Jaylen Brown is having an MVP like season. We'll see how many more games Shea misses. Then it'll come down to Jaylen and Kay Cunningham if Shea can't get to 65 games. You know, and we'll see what happens. But I mean, it would be it's kind of crazy because he hasn't even been out in a year. He got hurt in May, so he's been out 10 months, right? Uh, and you just wonder if he comes back too soon, from the worst injury you can have in basketball these days, which is the torn Achilles. If he can, you hope that he doesn't further hinder his career. But I'd be lying if I said it wasn't a great storyline. To see him come back, it's like, Simmons was talking about, like, has there ever been a situation, how many situations have there been where you had a guy come in later in the season to a team with title aspirations? And, you mentioned Jordan coming back in 95 from retirement from baseball. And he mentioned a few other times, but this would definitely be one of those situations where if he comes back and he's good, Boston has a chance. Look how good they've been without him. Obviously, they've won a title before. And pretty much, just like Jason, the Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown led team, if they don't at least make the conference finals, then that's a disappointing. That's really, I expect to make the finals every time. You know, so uh, yeah, it's like a shot in the arm. It's like a boost to the season when you can have a guy of his stature, a top 10 player, when healthy, come back and join a team that would have a legitimate chance to win it all if he comes back and he's chasing Tatum again. You know, uh, now I would say more than likely, there's no way they'd actually win the title. Jordan didn't win the title in '95, right? And part of that was they had lost their power forward, Horace Grant. Dennis Rodman didn't come until the next year, but and Boston is not. They traded Drew Holiday, they traded Kristaps Porzingis, so they basically had to pay the piper, right? They had to they sold out to finally get the title, and now they had to pay up, and they're like, okay, well, they'd already given Drew an extension. They was like, okay, we'll slice some salary, save some money here, which Tatum out. But now Tatum is coming back, and they play so well without him, uh, and we just have to see. But I would say there's probably no way that they would actually, come out the East, let alone win the title of him coming back, this late in the season from a torn Achilles after missing 10 months. That would be crazy. But it is, like I said, just to see what happens and how he meshes with the team when he's been out and they've been playing so well without him, and seeing how far Boston can go. It is a great story. You know, it's very intriguing. Um, okay, so now I'm going to transition to football because the NFL Combine was this week. It took place over the past few days. Um, and a couple of USC guys, Jacoby Lane and Makai Lemon, star wideouts for USC the past few years. Um, they were in attendance. They took part. Jacoby Lane probably helped his draft stock. Uh, Big tall guy, 6'4". He weighed in at 200 pounds, and then he ran a 4.4840. Uh, Jacoby Lane is someone who I look at as sort of like a kind of a cross between like a Christian Watson and an Alan Lazard, uh, big, tall receiver. Um, Watson is faster. I forget which one between Watson and Lazard. I forget which one is the one of them is thicker, and one of them is more wiry, more lean. Lane is more the lean type. Uh, so yeah, I would say that uh, Jacoby Lane, like I said, that prototype. Um, I guess it's Lazard who's the more lean one. I guess I'm not sure. Um, or maybe the more sturdy one physically. I forget. I'm sorry, but yeah, I think he made him. He improved his draft stock. I like him. Like I said, I don't think he'll be a star. Uh, I think he'll be a good receiver, a good deep field, downfield threat, end zone threat, somebody like that. Uh, Now Makai Lemon, who's probably he's my wide receiver one. He has been. Uh, he went up there and did his interview talking to the press, and it was weird. Some people said that it hurt his draft stock. His measurements were very similar to Amon-Ra St. Brown, who he said he kind of modeled himself after. Uh, I've been on record to say I think he might actually be a better prospect than St. I knew, I, I said this at the time. St. Brown fell in the fourth round. I knew St. Brown was going to be what he is. I remember I was at USC once, and I was at it was a jock rally, right? And back then, I don't know if they still do, but the USC athletes would ride around on these like motorized scooters, right? And it was a jock rally before the first game of the 2018 season, and they were playing. I don't know what they were playing, but this was basically this is the first JT Daniels and St. Brown. This is before their very first college game. The game was taking place at the Coliseum, and of course Daniels and St. Brown had played together at Modern Day, and they were playing together at USC. Daniels, of course, ended up transferring to like Georgia and I don't remember where else. It didn't work out for him. But I remember that day at the jock rally, uh, seeing St. Brown riding around on the scooter and thinking to myself, man, this kid does not seem like an 18-year-old freshman getting ready to play his very first college game for one of the most historic programs at one of the most historic venues in college football. And he comes from a family of athletes, a family of football players, and he just seemed like one of those kids who like this type of stuff is like second hand, or like second nature to him. You know, so when he fell in the fourth round, I knew that St. Brown was going to be great. I think Makai Lemon, I think he's faster. I don't think he ran at the combine. He'll probably run at USC's pro day. Uh, but I think he's faster, and I think he's more. I think he's a better all-around receiver. St. Brown has mastered the slot position and kind of just taken it to another level. You think of guys like Wes Welker and Julian Edelman, and then St. Brown took it and and turned it into like a first team All Pro type receiver, 1,500 yards from the slot. You know, whereas I think Welker had a couple of years like that too, but St. Brown catches a lot of touchdown passes too, which I think West didn't really catch a lot of touchdown passes. But yeah, and I think Lemon, you can use him like that in the slot. But for a 5'11" guy, he did a lot of work on the outside at USC. You know, they would throw the ball down the field and he catch it in the end zone. You know, so he kind of plays bigger than his size. You know, and I like him a lot. I know the interview was weird, but he can play. And USC has a recent track record of putting some really good receivers, St. Brown and Drake London and Michael Pittman and Juju. Uh, Going back before that, Marquise Lee and Aguilar and Robert Woods. You know, they all had their moments. You know, and then the USC teams I grew up really, well, I was rooting for as a teenager. And Steve Smith, who won a Super Bowl with the Giants and had a Pro Bowl year the year after that. Really, Dwayne Jarrett, the great USC, the great most receiving touchdowns in USC history. He was really the only one who didn't work out at all in the NFL. Um, the rest of them all had their moments, and like I said, you know, not this year, but last year, St. Brown and Leonard were both in the top five in receiving in the NFL. So, and then you go back to Keyshawn Johnson, you go to Johnny Morton, you go to Curtis Conway, and then you go all the way back to Lynn Swan. USC has a great history of putting receivers in, and more recently they've really been hitting. So, yeah, I think that they'll be. I think that they'll be. I think Lemon will be fine. I think it'll be fantastic. Um, yeah, hopefully that little interview they did that doesn't hurt him too much. You know. Okay, so now just one last thing. The Scary Movie 6 trailer uh, premiered a couple of days ago, and I have to say I was impressed. Uh, you know, the vibes were it seems to be returning. Um, when uh, the main thing that makes me feel like that is seeing the reaction from some of the snowflakes who were like offended or whatever because the jokes were talking about making making fun of pronouns and different stuff like that. The type of stuff that you would expect from the Wayans brothers. Wayans brothers are like say Scary Movie's a parody franchise, and the Wayans brothers no holds bar. They make fun of uh, not just of horror franchises, but of it's like satire of like culture. Making fun of culture, and it's meant to be offensive. Offensive. The tagline is every line will be crossed. You know, and to see some of the snowflakes, see some of the stuff, the humor that was in the trailer, and not like it, that was encouraging to somebody like me. you know. Now the one thing I'll say is that I said the same thing about Happy Gilmore, right? Which is that you think about the first Happy Gilmore, and the second one. The main difference is that the first Happy Gilmore, I mean, Adam Sandler was like 30 years old or something like that. Now he's like 60. So he just doesn't have the same, like cats were young and just like, like I was said, just they, like Sandler back then just didn't give a f. Neither did the rat directors, anybody involved with that movie, you know, and of course that's what the Wayans were known for, Same thing like Eddie Murphy, back in the '80s, just didn't care, just didn't care, just no holds barred, now, but we just start seeing guys in the '50s and '60s and stuff like that, years old. It's not the same. But that's the only thing is that it's like, you know, when Marlon and Sean were 25, 26 years old, uh, probably different. Uh, uh, just different. It's like they're just not as raucous and as reckless as they were. As much as the writing might be, can they still deliver those lines? It seemed like Regina Hall, she's snapped back into character just fine. But even little Cindy, you know, um, let's see. Like I said, the writing can be really good, but can the performances be the same when you have people who've gotten so much older? and matured so much. You know, even necessarily a matter of maturity. It's just like I said, when you're young and you're wild, you know, um, it's different. All right, so before I get out of here, just a reminder to hit that subscribe button next to the Complete Podcast Network, and to follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at TC Pod Network. You can also send feedback and mailbag questions to Complete Lakers Podcast at gmail.com. I am out.